pangalawa sa installment natin, libro ni Jeremias, part 2 na tayo. Review, balik tanaw lang tayo, mabilisang review, okay? Napag-usapan na natin yung panakapanahonan niya, which is the 7th century na prophet, at ang looming yung Babylonian Empire, wala na yung Assyrian Empire, so new political na eksena sa ancient Near East sa panahon na ito. At we profile the prophet, kung sino siya, meaning ng pangalan niya. And significant doon ay is a celibate, no? Hindi siya nagkaroon ng asawa. So unlikely na mangyayari sa kalalakihan ng unang panahon, strange. Then the call of Jeremiah, ang pagtawag sa kanya from the womb, sabi nga, and then yung libro ni Propeta Jeremias, we explain how complicated it is, and then we proceeded sa mga tema at mga passages na relevant sa pag-aaral ng Propeta Isaías. Hindi naman natin ma-discuss lahat, so we selected some themes or passages. And then we started to talk about first yung accusation ni Jeremias dahil dun sa violations of Mishpat at sa covenant, yung worship of one God, which is idolatry, no? Yung going after other God. Ito yung kumbaga double whammy na kasalanan o crime ng Judah, which will merit punishment, and we know that the punishment will be the exile. The city will be destroyed, the temple will be destroyed, and then the people will go into exile, no? Then we talk about the temple sermon ni Jeremias, which is in chapter 7. At nagbigay tayo ng konting detalye sa mga persecutions na dinanas ni Jeremias, and we liken it sa passion ni Jesus, no? Tapos yung mensahe niya na hindi pinapakinggan, he did it through symbolic actions, baka sakaling mas mabisa o mas effective yung pagbabahagi niya ng kanyang message of God, so through symbolic actions. And the question of who is a true prophet, he was challenged by another prophet na si Hananiah o Ananias or Hananiah, and we spoke about prophecy as someone who speaks the truth even if it hurts, and does not speak in smooth things, meaning is a critique, sometimes political critique or critique against establishment, katulad ni Jeremias against the rulers. And so that's the six na items sorry, na diniscuss natin. Ngayon, punta na tayo sa pang-7th item o pang-7th na tema, yung malimit na binabanggit sa mga komentaryo tungkol kay Jeremias, yung confessions of Jeremiah. Anong ibig sabihin ng confessions or confession? Hindi po yung sakramento ng pagbabalik loob o kumpisal, no? Hindi natin that's another thing, no? Ang confession ay isang klase ng anyong pampanitikan, genre o literary style. Autobiographical ang dating, okay? Pero either real or fictitious, no? So either imagination niya o totoong nangyari, in which intimate and hidden details of the subject's life are revealed or disclosed, no? Yung damdamin, yung internal struggle ng tao na yan is yung subject matter, yun yung ilalabas o reveal. Hindi uso ito nung unang panahon, no? This is a modern psychology, yung i-express mo what is inside you. It's something modern, no? Hindi uso yan, no, nung unang panahon. So this is therefore a new literary style. In fact, yung confession na yan ay became only a popular genre o estilo ng pagsusulat noong ang unang nagpasimula yan, ang unang nag-introduce yan ay si San Agustin. Gumawa siya ng 300 page na confessions, yung sasabihin niya o sinabi niya doon yung mga sa loobin niya, what is inside him. So it became popular kasi nga first time na may ganyang style ng literature, and that's St. Augustine. And that was 4th century, 300 years, 4th century. So 4th century lang noong ma-introduce yung ganyang estilo. Kaya classic na nga yan yung nung mga seminarista kami pinapabasa ito. St. Augustine's Confessions, no? So it's a 4th century style na magsimula ng 4th century and 300 pages. Ngayon, marami ng ganyang estilo ng pagsusulat, lalo yung sila Thomas Merton, marami na, no? Even non-religious works wherein they talk about what is inside themselves. So, pag sinabing Confessions of Jeremiah, okay, ito yung mga passages about Jeremiah's personal disclosure ng kanyang internal struggle, okay, kanyang complaint sa Diyos, kanyang mga hinanaing, at laments, no, to God, yung desire niya to take revenge, normal lang yon sa tao. Pustahan tayo, huwag kayong magsinungaling, no? Ilang tao na sa isip ninyo na minarder ninyo, no? So it's hindi nyo lang masasabi, siyempre. You can't not even write about it kasi it could become a record. But how many people have you already, so-called in quotation mark, murdered in your mind, no? So yet that desire for revenge, for it's internal, no? Hindi, pero yung kay Jeremiah sasabihin niya, no, in all honesty, no. And in spite of that, to trust in God kahit na sa tingin niya sa Diyos ay hindi makatarungan sa kanya. So, yung mga section na yan ay tinawag na sorry, Confessions of Jeremiah. As I said, hindi uso nung unang panahon yung istilong ganito. Ang nagpauso lang, it was in the 4th century AD, si San Agustin, and then later on, naging popular style na yung pagsusulat na ganyan. So, nung mga scholar, mga eksperto ng kay Jeremias, nung binabasa nila yung ibang parte ni Jeremias, sabi nila, parang confessions ito ni Agustin. So, they entitled those sections, therefore, na Confessions of Jeremiah. Now, 5 passages yon, in chapter 11, in chapter 15, in chapter 17, chapter 18, and chapter 20. Ito yung topic natin ngayong gabi. So let us go to the first one, Jeremiah chapter 11, from verse 18 up to chapter 12, verse 6. So, medyo mahaba yun. So yung first part nito is yung Jeremiah's life is threatened, and so it's first person autobiographical. It was the Lord who made it known to me, and I knew. So autobiographical. No? Then you showed me their evil deeds. No? But I was like a gentle lamb led to the slaughter. And I did not know it was against me that they devised schemes, saying, let us destroy him, or destroy the tree with its fruit. Let us cut him off from the land of the living, so that his name will no longer be remembered. So, o dinidetalye o how do you say it in Tagalog, no? Binubulgar niya o masyado matang bulgar yung word, no? Yung nasa loob niya, especially yung hinanakit niya doon sa mga kaaway. Sa mga kaaway niya who wanted him to be killed, no? Who devised schemes sa kanila. At sabi pa nila, let us destroy the tree, meaning he and cut him off from the living. So it's really the enemies, Jeremiah here thinking of his enemies wanting to murder him. Okay. Now address it to God. But you, O Lord of hosts, now Lord of hosts in the Hebrew is Yahweh, YHWH, Sabaoth. You remember this word, no? This word means, it's a military term. Sabaoth means armies, meaning hukbo, armies, no? Military armies. So, Yahweh Sabaoth. So, he is calling God, no? Addressing God in a militaristic way, who judge righteously, who try the heart and the mind, or who test, who give test and who probe the heart. Let me see your retribution. So, tingin mo yung desire ni Jeremiah for a revenge, no? Revenge against his enemies. Nekhama yung retribution, the word in Hebrew. Upon them, for you, I have committed my cause. Then, Jeremiah now starts to complain to God. You will be in the right, O Lord, when I lay charges against you. But let me put my case to you. So, this is legal terms. No? Case, no? Lay charges, sakdal, no? Why does the way of the guilty prosper? Sabi niya, itong tanong ko nga sa iyo, ito yung magiging kaso ko laban sa iyo. Why does the way of the guilty prosper? Bakit yung mga masasamang tao, yumayaman, gumaganda ang buhay, humahaba ang buhay, katulad ng iba dyan. At nagiging sikat sila, they become honorable, or they are rich. Why? Why do all who are treacherous thrive? Sabi niya. Di ba dapat those who do evil will be punished? Bakit yung those who are doing evil, those who are wicked, are the one enjoying prosperity and thriving? You plant them and they take root. They grow and bring forth fruit. So, using the metaphor ng pagyabong ng isang tanim o isang kahoy. You are near in their mouths, yet far from their hearts. But you, O Lord, know me. You see me and test me. Yan na naman. Sinusubukan mo ako. My heart is with you. Pero, don't worry. I'm committed. I commit to your cause. Pero, pull them out like sheep for the slaughter, and set them apart for the day of slaughter. Again, the desire for revenge. Yeah. Then, verse 4. How long will the land mourn and the grass of every field wither? Sabi niya, for the wickedness of those who live in it, the animals and the birds are swept away. Dahil sa wickedness ng mga ito, animals and birds are even swept out. And because people said, He is blind to our ways. God does not care to our future. That's one of the translation. Ito yung isang translation, He is blind to our ways. Pero other Bible says, God does not care does not care our future. So, Jeremiah here is complaining. Confessing what is inside him, against God. Nilalabas niya ang kanyang mga hinanaing. God replies to Jeremiah, if you have raced with foot runners and they have wearied you, how will you compete with horses? So, the use of metaphor. So, paano ka mo mauunahan yung mga kabayo kung tumatakbo ka lang? Hindi ka, so, that's a metaphor, meaning hindi mo mauunahan yon. You will be tired. You will get tired. And if in a safe land you fall down, how will you fare in the thickets of the Jordan? So, meaning forest. Kung bumagsak ka, so, ibig sabihin ay hindi mo wag mong pangunahan ang Diyos. Something like that. And for even your kinsfolk and your own family, even they have dealt treacherously with you. So, pati mga kamag-anak mo, ayan, galit na sila sa iyo. At they are in full cry after you. Do not believe them, though they speak friendly words to you. So, mukhang pati mga kamag-anak ni Jeremias ay galit na rin sila sa kanya. So, parang si Jesus, di ba? At one point, Jesus even said that unless you hate your family or mother or brother, you will not be worthy of the kingdom of God. So, that is his complaint. Now, the second confession, second passage, Jeremiah chapter 15, 10 to 21. Sabi niya, woe to me, woe is me, my mother, that you ever bore me. So, doon na sa nanay niya, bine-blame niya na ang nanay niya. Woe is me, my mother, that you bore me. Parang vocation crisis yan. Kasi nung tinawag si Jeremias, di ba, he was called from the womb of the mother. Now he's saying, woe to me, woe to my mother, na pinanganak niya ako. So I'm a man of strife and contention to the whole land. I have not lent, hindi ako humiram, hindi ako umutang, I have not borrowed, yet all of them curse me. So, wala nang taong may gusto kay Jeremias. Even yung mga taong expected na maging kasama niya o in solidarity with his cause, also abandon him. Parang si Jesus, doon sa Gospel of Mark, yung diniscuss ko kagabi, na sa Ebanghelyo ni San Marcos, not one was around during the crucifixion of Jesus. They all abandoned him. May mga babae, but they were from a distance, looking from a distance. Walang Blessed Mother, walang mga disciples. You have them in the Gospel of John. Pero yung presentation ni Mark, like Jeremiah, all of them are out, have fled. And Jesus alone faces his cross. Like Jeremiah here. All of them curse me, including yung kanyang mga kamag-anak incorporated. Even the mother. Woe to my mother. So, yung compassion siya na makukuha niya sa nanay niya. Pero hindi rin. And the response of the Lord, in a metaphorical way, as I was giving a warning before, yung mga propeta mahihirap basahin nga dahil they use mashal, yung technical word sa Hebrew, mashal. Ibig sabihin, matalinghaga ang mga binibitawan nilang mga salita, mga oracles. They use a lot of metaphors, similes, poetry, parables, or what we call mashal in the Hebrew language. So, ang response of God is, can iron break the iron from the north and the bronze? Mahirap itong part na ito. So, I had to consult a commentary kanina kung anong ibig sabihin ng bakal. No? At yung bakal from the north, iron from the north. Sino ba itong iron from the north? Bakal na manggagaling sa Hilaga. During the time of the dictatorship, some biblical scholars jokingly attributed this, ironically attributed this to the dictator from the north. Kilala niyo kung sino yon, the Iron Man from the north. No? And the first bakal here is Judah, so they say in the commentaries, and the one from the north, the iron from the north, is the foe from the north, yung kaaway na manggagaling sa north. Very often mentioned in the book of Jeremiah yung foe from the north, the enemy from the north. And who is the enemy from the north? Babylon. And the bronze here is Jeremiah. Because towards we are in chapter 15, but when you reach chapter 26, merong part doon na iambing si Jeremiah sa bronze. So, can Judah break Babylon? The answer is no. Babylon. And the bronze, meaning Jeremiah, the answer also is no. So that's the reply of God. Which is, of course, that Babylon will enter the picture. They will be punished by God through the Babylonian Empire, who will come and bring them to slavery, who will burn their city, destroy their temple. So, this is the map of the Babylonian Empire, taken from the internet. But you notice Babylon is here. It's not in the north. If this is the Jerusalem here, it's not north, should be here, di ba? And this is east, south, west. So the sea is west. But how come it's north? Yes, because when they think of north, from this point perspective, when you go to Babylon, you have to go to the north in the so-called Fertile Crescent, so that you reach Babylon. So sa point of direction mo, talagang north ang iniisip mo, kasi nga dadaan ka naman sa north papunta sa Babylon, which is in the east. So it makes sense of what Jeremiah is talking about. And then, I will make you serve your enemies. Sabi ni God, in a land that you do not know, meaning in Babylon. Dahil, yun nga, punishment sa breaking of the covenant. For in my anger, a fire is kindled that shall burn forever. Forever. Sabi noon. Ibig sabihin, no chance to be redeemed. That's a big question here. My anger will always be there. Forever. So, talagang matindi ang galit ng Diyos. And this is Jeremiah expressing that feeling of hinanakit doon sa Diyos. No? And Jeremiah's response, Yahweh, sabi niya, you know, remember me, take care of me, and avenge me on my persecutors. Ayun na naman. However long your anger endures, sabi niya, kahit pa forever ang iyong galit, do not snatch me away, but avenge me from my persecutors. Lagi yung paghihiganti. Realize that I suffer insult for your sake. Kinuha ko to sa New Jerusalem Bible na translation. And Jeremiah's complaint, when your words came, I ate them, sabi niya. No? So, parang later on si Ezekiel na ipapakain sa kanya yung scroll and it tastes like honey. So, that kind of, again, poetic technique or metaphor of imbibing, actualizing yung isabuhay mo, yung sundin mo, tatalima ka sa kalooban ng Diyos. It's like eating the words of God. I ate them. They were my joy and my heart's delight. Sabi niya, for I bear your name, Lord God Almighty. I never sat in the company of revelers. So, dinedefend niya ang kanyang sarili, something like in Latin, this is called apologia. You defend yourself that you are innocent. Na hindi ka wala kang kasalanan. To merit this kind of hardship and pain. Never made me merry with them. I sat alone because your hand was on me and you had filled me with indignation, sabi niya. So, why is my pain then unending? Wala nga akong kasalanan. Ba't kagalit sa akin? Why is my pain unending? And my wound grievous and incurable. Ano kayang klaseng, parang may diabetes. No? Hindi gumagaling ang wound. You are to me like a deceptive brook. Para kang stream o ilat o ilog na madaya, na mapaglinlang, like a spring that fails. So, again, you see the use of masyal, a poetic metaphor. Bakit deceptive brook? Kasi sa Israel, may mga tinatawag sila na wadi. This is a wadi. It's an Arabic word, yung wadi, meaning tuyong ilog, no? Dry river bed. Usually nasa marami yan sa desert, like in the Negev, sa southern part ng Israel. And akala mo tuyo yan, but very dangerous, very deceptive, no? In a flash maybe of seconds na ganyan, biglang magpa-flash flood, no? Kasi di mo alam ang nangyari doon sa unahan niya, kung meron doong malakas na ulan o whatever, biglang itong dry river ba nito, napakalakas ang alon at malalim at maputik. So, it's a deceptive brook. So, wag kang akala mo patawid-tawid, magtitinikling ka na tatawid dito o what, no? Enjoy ka dahil pero you never know, may flash flood na dumarating and suddenly you got drowned. Deceptive brook. Yun yung image na sinabi ni Jeremiah sa Diyos, you are a deceptive brook. And Jeremiah's lament, another confession, in chapter 17 na tayo. Sabi niya, sa next passage, chapter 17, 14 to 18, heal me, O Lord, and I will be healed. O, tama-tama sa time natin ng pandemic. Heal me, O Lord. So, nagdasal mo na siya, Lord, heal me, and for sure, when you heal me, I will be healed. Save me, and I will be saved, for you are the one I praise. Pero ito na, yung lament niya. Pero, they keep saying to me, why is the word of the Lord? Where is the word of the Lord? Let it now be fulfilled. So, heal me, O Lord. And if you heal me, I will be healed. But you are not healing me. Meaning you are not answering to my prayers. You are allowing me to be persecuted pa. People do not listen to me. So, yun yung mga nakita na natin na dinaanan ni Jeremias nung Jeremiah part 1 tayo. So, where is the word of the Lord? Yung pangako niya. Let it now be fulfilled. Sabi ng mga tao sa kanya, parang they are mocking him. No? Mocking Jeremiah. So, nasaan ang Panginoon mo ngayon? Na ililigtas ka niya. Where is the word of the Lord? Let it now be fulfilled. Siguro yun din ang pakiramdam natin na ngayon na isang taon na tayo nagdalasal kay Lord, nagnonovena, nagro-rosary. Siguro yung mga hindi naniniwala sa Diyos o have something against religion, they will probably tongue-in-cheek and secretly smiling. Oh, so where is your prayer, your God? Sasabi niyo, sasagot, nasaan yung mga santo ninyo na tutulong sa inyo? Nasaan yung mga sinasabi ninyong hindi kayo pababayaan ng Diyos, etc., etc. We do not know. I'm just overreading yung mga isip ng mga ibang tao. So, I have not run away. So, again, to defend himself, na he is not uncommitted, na wala siyang commitment, na talagang full commitment siya. I have not run away from you being a shepherd. You know, I have not desired the day of despair. What passes my lips is open before you. Lahat ng sinabi ko galing sa iyo. Then, verse 17, do not be a terror to me. You are my refuge in the day of disaster. Let my persecutors be put to shame. Again, but keep me from shame. So, malakas kasi yung honor and shame. Sabi ko sa kultura nila. Okay na lang na hindi mo ko mahalin, wag mo na akong hiyain. Parang ganun. Because yung shame. So, do not put me to shame. Na hindi nagkakatotoo yung sinasabi mo na sasabihin ko sa kanila, pero hindi naman pala nagkakatotoo. So, let them be terrified, but keep me from terror. Bring on me the day of disaster. Bring on the people, the day of disaster. Destroy them with double destruction. Talagang itong si propeta natin, kaya nga yung portrait na Michelangelo, di ba? Kaya sa Sistine Chapel, na akaganon si propeta Jeremias. Another passage na confession, chapter 20. I think this is the last. This is the number 5. So matatagpuan mo yung confessions niya sa spread out until chapter 21 or 20. No? And then you will not find the confessions anymore afterwards. No? Yung style na ganito. And this is, I think, the most popular sa mga confessions ni Jeremiah and most often quoted. Especially verse 7. You seduce me, Lord, sabi niya, and I let myself be seduced. You were too strong for me, and you prevailed. Now, this is English. Pero when you go to Hebrew, sabi niya, pititani. And sorry for the word that I will use. The word in Hebrew is rape. Rape. Ginahasa. Very strong word. Ginahasa mo ako, Panginoon. That's the Hebrew meaning of that. No? Of course, in English mo lang ng maganda para hindi naman scandalous sa mga modern sensibilities ng mga modern people, katulad natin. So, sinabi mo, you seduce me, Lord. No? Nilinlang mo ako. You deceive me. Ako naman nagpa-deceive. Nabudol-budol ako. No? Dahil ikaw nga ang nagsasalita, nag-invite sa akin, tumawag sa akin, tinawag mo ako. So, pumayag naman ako. Kasi nga, ikaw ay you're stronger and you prevailed over me. Mahina lang ako. Kaya napauo ako. Kumbaga, yun nga, nabudol-budol mo ako. Yan yung accusation ni Jeremiah kay God. No? Na yung pala, noong mag-mission na siya, ito pala ang mapapala niya, no? Na pagiging propeta niya. So, kaya sinabi niya, you should use me. Malimit ito na ginagamit. Maalala ko to, I remember very well, speaking of Cardinal Tagle, who is giving ngayon, yung recollection online, ay tuwing tuwing ikukwento niya yung paano siya pumasok sa seminaryo and then became a priest afterwards, he would use this, dahil wala naman siyang intention na pumasok sa seminaryo, basta someone invited him, whatever, to go to Ateneo, I think, to take an exam, ganyan-ganyan. So, and then, nag-exam naman, yung pala, papasok pala yun sa seminaryo, yung exam na yan. So, parang, in a way, he was deceived. He was deceived by whoever priest ba yun o nag-recruit sa kanya para mag-entrance exam. Yung pala, correct me if I'm wrong, yung mga story, yung nakarinig na si story ni Cardinal Tagle, yung pala ay nalinlang siya. Maganda naman ang pagkakalinlang kasi naging cardinal siya afterwards, and which is similar to some of experience of ours in the past. Ako nagsimula mag-seminary when I was 12 to 13 years old in the minor seminary, high school seminary, first year high school. After grade 6, doon ako pumasok ng seminary. And I remember very well, nung hinatid kami ng magulang namin, then yung mga ibang mga bagong pasok na mga 12 years old din, katulad ko, ay para maengganyo kami, para ma-seduce kami sa loob ng seminaryo, dinala kami doon sa laruan ng pool. Yung maalala ko, so naglalaro kami doon ng pool, sama yung mga ibang 12-year-old magpo-first year high school. Maya-maya, nung magkamalay na kami, dahil naglaro kami, wala na yung mga magulang namin. Umuwi na, dahan-dahan. Kumbaga, naiwan na kami doon, kaya tinginan kami, wala na mga magulang. Yung iba, nag-iyakan na. Yung iba, umuwi pa. Nung umuwi na, gusto nang umuwi. So, they were seduced to enter the seminary. Something like that. All day long, I am an object of laughter. Everyone mocks me. Sabi ni Jeremiah. For whenever I speak, I have to howl and proclaim violence and ruin. Ito na lang lagi ang sinasabi ko. Bad news lagi ang gusto mong sabihin ko sa mga tao. That they will be punished, that there will be violence, and this city will turn into ruins. Pwede bang good news naman yung sasabihin ko? For me, Yahweh's word has been the cause of insult and derision all day long. Pero mo yung accusation niya kay Yahweh. And verse 9, I would say to myself, I will not think about him. I will not speak in his name anymore. Tama na. Sabi niya, hindi ko na yan siya iisipin. Hindi na ako magsasalita sa ngalan niya. Pero hindi ko rin kaya, sabi niya, dahil there seemed to be a fire burning in my heart, imprisoning my bones. The effort to restrain it, napapagod ako to keep it, to prevent it. Hindi ko kaya, I could not hold on to it, sabi niya. So, hindi niya rin kayang talikuran ng Diyos o yung mission na pinapagawa sa kanya. Yes, sabi niya, I hear the whisperings of many. So, terror on every side. Denounce. Let us denounce him. Yung mga nagko-conspire. Lahat. Laban sa kanya. Sabi ko nga, kasama mga kamag-anak niya doon. All those, mga makaibigan niya, are on the watch of any misstep of mine. Sabi niya. Perhaps he can be tricked and we will prevail and take revenge on him. So, the friends are even conspiring against him. Now, kahit paano, sabi ni Jeremias, but the Lord is with me, like a mighty champion. My persecutors will stumble, they will not prevail. In their failure, they will be put to utter shame, to lasting, unforgettable confusion. So yung desire to be vindicated and to do something against his enemies. So, yun yung confession, yung mga sa loob, nasa loob niya ay inilalabas niya. Yahweh Sabaoth, you who test the upright, observer of motives and thoughts, I shall see you revenge on them, for I have revealed my cause to you. So, umaasa pa rin siya na nakikilos ang Diyos para sa kanya. And, again, Jeremiah goes back to his mother. Curse, sabi niya. Kanina, woe. Woe to my mother. Ngayon, curse, arur. Sa araw na ako'y pinanganak ng aking ina. Ayan na naman. Yung Jeremiah, mahilig siya sa kanyang kutsay ng kanyang ina. Sa halip na magpasalamat siya. Because nga, it was better for him to not have been born kaysa yung may panganak siya, pero puno naman ng pagdurusa ang buhay niya. So, the day when my mother bore me, let it not be a blessing. Cursed be the man, pati yung tatay niya who brought the news to my father. Cursed that messenger na nagsabing na ipanganak si Jeremias. A child is born to you, making him very glad. Cursed to that news, to that good news. It is a bad news. Let that man, kawawa naman yung messenger, hindi lang pinagdinan ng pansin ni propeta, be like the cities that the Lord overthrew without pity. Kasi nga nagdala siya ng mabuting balita. Let him hear a cry in the morning and alarm at noon, meaning going to a war, because he did not kill me in the womb. Can you imagine? So my mother would have been my grave and her womb forever great. Hindi na dapat ako pinanganak para yung tiyan ng nanay ko ay forever malaki. So, sobrang imagination ni Jeremiah. Why did I come forth from the womb to see toil, meaning hardship, and sorrow, and spend my days in shame? Napansin nyo, nilagyan ko ng yellow yung womb. How many times? And now, you can associate yung at the beginning ng mission ni Jeremiah when he was called. Diba? Maalala nyo? Jeremiah was called from the womb. Mula pa sa sinapupunan. Now he is cursing the womb, the place where he was first called by God. Ay ganun katindi yung internal struggle niya. No? Lamenting against God, desiring for revenge. Para tayo din, di ba? Hindi niya nga lang natin masabi in public or with other people. We just have to keep it to ourselves. No? Yung iba siguro na ilalagay sa kanilang diary or journal kung meron man sila. Yung iba sa Facebook na lang pero gumagamit sila ng ibang pangalan o ibang para hindi sila ma-identify because it's really difficult to tell something that what is true nasa yung loob. No? You can tell something about yourself pero not necessarily true. Pero what is true, your inner desires, yung mga mga iniisip natin, lustful, powerful, avengeful, and so forth and so on, no? Against God, against other people, you cannot say that, no? If you are not St. Augustine, kaya nga sumikat yung si San Agustin kasi nga pati yung kanyang mga love story ay nandoon, yung struggle niya sa kanyang sexuality nandoon din yun sa confessions ni Augustine. Okay. Hindi naman lahat, last point, hindi naman lahat ng message ni Jeremiah ay bad news. Actually, he had one of the more remembered message of hope sa buong Old Testament. And it is remembered until today because we always are using this term. yung New Covenant. Covenant sa Latin ay testamentum. Okay. Bagong tipan. No? New Testament. Kaya we always use this. This is the origin of that name, New Testament. And then, doon sa Last Supper, sa institution of the Eucharist, sa Eucharistic words ni Jesus, di ba sabi niya, this is the cup of my blood, the blood of the new covenant. Ang bagong tipan. Ginamit din niya yung words na inintroduce ni Jeremiah. And this is the first time that it will be introduced sa Biblia to be carried on later kay Jesus, the early Christians, until today. We are using it. New covenant. Bagong tipan. New Testament. And you find that in chapters 30 to 31, oftentimes, that chapter is called the Book of Consolation. Kasi nga, yung message ni Jeremiah dito ay more of hope. No? Not uprooting, not destroying, but more of planting or building, using yung description ng mission niya when he was called by God, doon sa chapter 1. More of a message of hope. Kaya tinawag yung section na yan, 30 to 31, Book of Consolation. Pero bago nyo basahin yan, basahin nyo muna yung mga Book of Sorrows, kumbaga, yung Book of Bad News, para makita yung contrast. And suddenly, sa 30 to 31, you have the Book of Consolation. Short note on covenant. Bago natin is-discuss yung last passage na yan. Yung covenant, sa Hebrew is berith, sa Greek diatheke, sa Latin testamentum, yung sinabi ko nila. And keyword yan sa Biblia dahil 285 times sa Biblia, sa Old Testament, and 33 times in the New Testament na binanggit. So, makikita nyo na it's an important word, yung covenant. And yung ancient notions nila ng covenant ay, ng unang panahon, is more of a legal or political treaty. It's a contract. Pero, maliban yan, yung magkokontrata yung dalawa, either a king o yung kanyang vassal, halimbawa, they will make a contract that this one will be protected by the king, the more powerful. So that's a covenant. Or, yung head ng family is obliged to help the other members of the family, kaya maggagawa ng covenant, ang tawag dyan ay kinship obligation. Yung merong in charge doon, usually yung patriarch who will take care of the members of his household or his clan or his tribe. Halimbawa, hindi nakabayad ng yung isang miyembro doon at magiging slave na siya, he will be reduced to slavery, to bondage, i-redeem yan ng kinsman. Yung redeemer ang tawag dyan. Diyan magsisimula yung word na redeemer. I-redeem niya. So, kasi obligasyon niya yun dahil doon covenant niya yun eh. Kaya, hindi niya hahayaan na yung isang miyembro niya ay maghihirap o dadanas ng pagiging alipin. No, i-redeem niya. Because that is his obligation. So, yun yung concept ng covenant. Political treaty or legal treaty, contract formally, or a treaty between a head of a family or a head of a clan to the members. Now, may conditions yung covenant. Siyempre, no? May stipulation or terms yung treaty. The sovereign, demands the vassals total loyalty. Huwag kang maging unfaithful. No? Kasi nag-covenant tayo. So, dapat maging tapat tayo sa isa't isa. Now, kung hindi maging tapat, may mangyayari. No? Before yung sanction, yung covenant, pinapublish din yan. Okay? Kailangan, wala namang publication ng unang paano. Paano nila pinapublish? Paano nila, wala namang internet, walang Facebook. How did they publish? So, yung treaty, yung document, usually, publish means isinusulat at ini-store sa isang lugar. Sometimes in the temple, or sometimes in sanctuaries, no? And then every year or every now and then, nire-recite in public. Katulad nung maalala yung tablet of stone, naisulat doon sa stone, yung commandments, and then kept in the ark, if you still remember yung in-explain natin noon. And every 7 years, that's from the book of Deuteronomy, nire-renew yung covenant with a public reading. Para maalaala nila na, ay, meron pala kaming covenant na ganun. Yan. So, yun yung... And pag hindi, pag unfaithful yung isang party, may condition, may blessing and curse. Kung faithful ka sa covenant, may blessing. Pag unfaithful ka, may curse. Kaya doon sa covenant, inilista yung good and bad things that would happen to the vassal, yung nasasakupan, if the treaty was kept or broken. And according to yung covenant ni Yahweh, dahil si Yahweh nga, ang nakikipag-covenant sa Israel, yung add-on sa kanyang covenant, add-on, dahil hindi lahat ng covenant ay ganito, forever. Walang expiration date yung covenant. Ang tawag dyan ay, sa Hebrew ay, berith olam. Hindi olam na pagkain. Berith olam. Olam is covenant. Okay? And, sorry. No. Berith is covenant. Olam is forever. So, yun yung add-on o uniqueness nung makikipag-covenant kay Yahweh. Kasi Yahweh is forever. So, His covenant is unchangeable forever. Maging kung unfaithful ka man, okay, you will have punishment and curse, but the covenant stays. God will always be faithful to the covenant because He is God. Unchangeable. Forever. Ulam. Yun yung uniqueness nung hindi siya katulad ng ibang hari. Pag natapos na yung covenant na yan at nag-break na yung dalawa, ay tapos na yung covenant. Wala na. Pero yung kay Yahweh, the covenant remains forever. Eternal. No end, no until now, it is still a covenant. Kasi nga, it's God who made the covenant with Israel. So the covenant with Israel remains until today. That is also in the teaching of the church, no? With the Jewish people, the covenant remains with them. It was never abrogated. Dahil nga, yung character ng Diyos ay olam forever. Okay. So, now, there are a couple of covenants in the Bible. The more familiar ones, yung una, yung Noah and his family, yung after the flood, Abraham and his descendants in Genesis chapter 12, chapter 15, chapter 17, Moses dun sa desert, and the Israelites in Exodus 20, etc., in Deuteronomy 5, and then yung covenant with David, kay Nathan, remember, yung diniscuss natin noon, that David's kingdom will be forever, 2 Samuel 7, and the new covenant in Jeremiah, which is our last point for this evening in chapter 31 to 34. So, with that background, let us then proceed dito sa 4 verses lang ng new covenant from Jeremiah. Sabi niya, "Behold, the days are coming," meaning, for sure, yung pag sinabing behold, it has a degree of certainty sa Biblia. Says the Lord. Sabi ni Jeremiah. Now, this is Jeremiah making an oracle. It will come soon. Behold, when I will make a new covenant. Ayun na. At hindi lang sa iisang kingdom, kundi, notice, Pati yung Israel na nawala na diminish na dahil wala na. Ang kingdom of Israel is gone. They will be revived and to form a new covenant with the Lord, with Yahweh. Dahil nga, unlike the covenant of old, which I made with their fathers, sabi niya, when I took them out by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, my covenant which they broke, though I was their husband, says the Lord. Remember Hosea using that metaphor, husband and wife, no? As a marriage covenant. Now, sinabi ko kanina na, bakit, akala ko, forever yung covenant na yan, bakit babaguhin? At darating ang new covenant. Ibig sabihin yung old covenant, the covenant formerly made with them ay wala na. O akala ko ba, berit olam, eternal covenant, yung ginawa nila noon. Bakit gagawa na? This is the explanation now of that. The new covenant does not really mean new in the sense of physical new, na yung new ay total eradication of the old. Hindi ganon. Ay understanding ng new dito. Something like the relationship is over. No? The relationship is over. But the covenant stays. It's there. So darating ang panahon na marirenew uli. So something like renewable, mapapanibago muli, something like that. No? Yung old becoming new in the sense that old has been broken by Israel, will be made to stand new. Yun yung idea noon. Hindi yung pinapalitan nung new yung old. Kasi nga, God's covenant is forever. Hindi yun, parang, what analogy can we use? Parang yung mag-asawa, in the context of marriage, sa sacrament of marriage. Sa sacrament of marriage, yung bond, no, na binuo ng dalawang party, yung groom and the bride, the bond, no, bond is indissoluble. No? Hindi hanggang kamatayan, no? Till death. The bond remains. Kaya kahit na naghiwalay na yung mag-asawa, maraming nangyaring gano'n na cases today, naghiwalay, nag-asawa din sila, nagkaroon sila ng ibang partner, nagkaroon din ng ibang anak sa, so separated ways for kahit ilang taon pa na grandparents na sila, but the bond is still there. Kasi the bond can only be dissolved pag namatay yung isa. So, parang ganun yung covenant ni God. No? The covenant is there. The bond is there. Even if yung Israel humiwalay. No? Because God is ever faithful. And God is forever. And the covenant is forever. So yung new na sinasabi niya is a kind of a renewal. Papanibaguhin muli. No? Gagawa ng paraan para itong old na ito ay hindi na masisira pa. And that what makes the covenant new. Kaya sabi niya, with this covenant, which will be established, it will be written upon their hearts. So, hindi na sa stone, no? Hindi na sa tablet of stone like the commandments, pero in the heart, sa puso. What do you mean? In the heart, embedded in the heart. So, darating daw ang panahon na yung covenant na ito is mapapanibago. It will have a unique character coming from the old to be renewed, and it will never be broken anymore because this covenant will be written in the heart. And I will be their God, and they will be my people. That's exactly what the covenant means. I will be your God, you will be my people. And no longer they will teach each other, saying, know the Lord. Hindi na kailangan ituturo pa ang mga yan, ikakatikay sila na ganon, because the covenant is now written here. Hindi mo alam mo na agad kung ano yung mali at you will not do what is not right, because it is already in your heart. It is part and parcel of your system. So there's no need even to learn about the law. Sabi niya, no? And you will never break, you will not have the time anymore to break the covenant, because it is already written in your heart. It has become something like natural to you. Mic test. Yan. So, and I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. Sabi. So, as an add-on to that new covenant, forgiveness of sins and forgetfulness of the iniquity. You see, kung mga very utopic yung kay magkakatotoo kaya yung sinabi ni Jeremias na darating daw ang panahon. Alam natin, hindi dumating yung panahon na yun. Kasi we still do something evil. Hindi pa rin naisulat yung covenant sa puso natin. Why? Because we continue to do what is evil. Even if how good we are, nakakagawa pa rin tayo ng mali. So, yung prophecy ni Jeremiah in the 7th century BC hanggang ngayon, you will not see its fulfillment. No? Has not been fulfilled yet. Yung oracle niya. Sabi niya pa naman, behold, the days are coming. Meaning, for sure, the days are coming na may new covenant dito sa... Now, yan ang problema ngayon. Pero we Christians have a way to explain it. Kasi yung tingin natin ng mga Kristiyano, yung covenant na written in the heart na yan, new covenant to be written in the heart, has been fulfilled. Not to all, but to a Jew in the 1st century AD. And that Jew is no other than a son of Israel, son of David, is Jesus Christ. So, yung tingin natin, the prophecy of Jeremiah ay fulfilled sa heart of Jesus. Kaya nga, every time na pag nilayan yung heart of Jesus, the first thing that would come to my mind ay not really yung mga later on na mga devotional passages about the Sacred Heart, but Jeremiah 31 to 34, the promise of a new covenant, a covenant written in the heart. And because of that, yung covenant written in the heart of Jesus and will no longer he represents now everyone, no? The idea that we can also be like him with the Lord, kaya we speak now of salvation. So, yun yung theological understanding of that passage. As Christians, pwede natin basahin from that point of view na, wait a minute, no? Nangyari na yung prophecy ni Jeremias of a new covenant written in the heart, and that is in Jesus. Kaya nga, yung Sacred Heart, this is the picture of Sacred Heart, and the promoter, the greatest promoter ng Sacred Heart devotion, si Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque. So that the devotion na yan would have an Old Testament background. So, Holy Wednesday, next meeting, next week then, we will have the book of the prophet Ezekiel, another major prophet. Medyo mabigat din siya, major din kasi. And how about yung Kasi pag binuksan yung Bible, right after yung Jeremiah ay Lamentations and Baruch. Well, yung Lamentations is set during the Babylonian exile, okay, the destruction of the city, pero hindi siya prophetic book eh. So we will table that to the pagdating natin ng time na i-discuss yung other books apart from the prophetic book kasi yung discuss natin. How about Baruch? Ay yung Baruch na yan, kahit na secretary ni Jeremiah yung name na Baruch, yung book of Baruch ay hindi talaga siya written during the time of Jeremiah, but much later talaga siya yung Baruch na prophet Baruch na work. So we will discuss this one when we reach the time after the exile kasi much later book na itong Baruch. In fact, it is a deuterocanonical book, meaning written in Greek, which is a very late book. So naka-table sila. Hindi natin agad i-discuss next time or next meeting, pero what we discuss is the book of the prophet Ezekiel. So till next week, have a blessed and meaningful Easter in spite of everything, and to stay safe. This is Father Randy Flores from the Sacred Heart Parish Shrine here in Quezon City, and the Director of the Biblical Apostolate of the Diocese of Cubao, and also the officer in charge right now of the SBD Philippine Central Province Biblical Apostolate. Good night. Bye-bye.